Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Wendy. I have an amazing guest on today. His name is Tarik Tyler. He is one of America's top fitness trainers. He's trained celebrities such as Kate Hudson, Tracy Morgan, regular folks such as me. I first was introduced to Tarik from the TV show Shaq's Big Challenge, where he went with Shaquille O'Neal to school in Florida and took, I think it was six obese children and taught them how to eat and exercise to lose weight. He started a company, Bring Gym Back Inc., to help children who are overweight and were bullied. I first met him in 2007 when he kicked my tail. My husband bought an hour with him for our anniversary, and it was the most fun, most intense hour that I've ever had exercising. In fact, I have my bracelet, Team Relentless. Yes, I still have it. So Tarik and I are chatting about what we need to do to stay healthy right now. And he said the word immunity fitness. And a light bulb went on. I said, okay, I've got to bring him on. So before we start and before I bring him on, his book, somebody's going to win his book, Relentless, From Good to Great to Unstoppable. Tim Grover was Michael Jordan's strength and training coach, and this is one of his favorite books. So we're going to be giving this away. What I know about Tarik is that he loves to research, and he's always trying to find out how he can better himself and other people. So he is going to be an amazing guest today, and I'm excited to have him on. So welcome, Tarik, and thank you so much.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. This is awesome. Just real quick, it's Bring Back Gym, but we're going to get into that later.
Okay. What did I say?
You said Bring Gym Back. I think so. Don't worry about it.
Bring back Gym.
Bring back Gym. But there's, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot more going on behind that. So don't worry. Don't look us up. There's some new stuff on the horizon. So
all right.
Move forward. Here we go.
So let's start with it. What is immunity fitness?
What is immunity fitness? I really look at it as for lack of a better term, a holistic way of really looking at your fitness, which means it's a mental health strategy, it's a physical health strategy, and it's a nutrition strategy. The first part being the mental health strategy is really get a grip on understanding what immunity is, right? If you look at all the information coming out about COVID, it can seem fairly daunting. And you start to sort of develop that mentality, and I've seen it, that people just, the freak out mode is like, man, is this person going to get me sick? Is that person going to get me sick? You know, am I going to get this elevator? Am I going to get it? Am I going to get it? And people have fear, but they don't look at the data, right? And I have to put it in numbers because numbers are what will, for me at least, calm me down. There are 8.5 billion people on this planet right now. You've had 1.1 million fatalities. It's less than 1% of the population. I personally would have a better chance of being struck by lightning while riding my scooter and wearing a tinfoil hat than dying of this. It is not wiping out the most robust part of the population. It is not eliminating people that are virile and robust and full of health. Despite what the news may tell you, that's not happening. I've said it before and I say it again. Until I see this thing knock out a 20 or 21-year-old male who's 6'2", weighs $190, has a vertical jump of like 55 inches, bench press is 225 for reps, and can run through tackles like there's no tomorrow, it's not as lethal as they keep telling you. Even at my age, I'm 53. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 53. Yeah, still look this good. I only wear the gray beard because kids don't listen to you otherwise. Like, I'm not listening to him. Why? He's older. You should listen now. I haven't had any issues. Zero. I think the most I felt seemingly was a sore throat. So it was my mental state that said, wait a minute, let me look at the data. Let me look at myself and my overall lifestyle and realize this thing isn't killing. It's not on the rampage like it's being purported to be. So that calmed me down. So my mental state definitely sharpened up. And plus, I would think I've spent 30 plus years in the fitness industry training. And part of my training was always been had a very, very intense level. So a lot of me mentally was prepared for something like this. I'm like, oh, it's a pandemic? Is it the plague thing? I mean, how do I get ready for this? So I didn't have that same mental state of like, oh my God, run, run, run. I was like, nope, I'm at ground zero. If I've got to find out whether everything I've learned, everything I've studied is worth anything, I'm staying right here. I'm going to be right in the middle of it, and let's see what happens. As the saying goes, you got to choose the hill you're going to die on. So that was my mental state, was about what do I need to do now to overcome it? And I realized I was already on the right path. My immune system was great. I'm training jiu-jitsu 4 or 5 days a week. I'm lifting, doing strength conditioning work, doing all those other things. So my physical state about my immunity was, well, if we keep telling people in this industry how exercise is supposed to improve your immunity, then I'm already on the right path. Now, what I would tell people generally is you need to really upgrade your fitness from just the baseline, which the baseline doesn't really give you the feeling of a flight or fight scenario. In other words, people's intensity over the years has dropped. I've watched from the 80s where it was like, everybody work out, exercise. And we've taken that and we've created things like CrossFit and all these other things. But for the most part, the majority, exercise is less and less. We found new ways to cut around it. We give you a 10-minute workout. Really? If I thought 10 minutes was great, I'd be doing it. We're trying to always find shortcuts. But the reality of it is, and this is much as my theory, is that we don't do things to inspire that genetic trigger that each one of us has for survival. Some of us are built better for sprinting, and some of us are built better for long distance. Some people are built great for certain things. But if you don't go out and find out what really gets you going and really gets your body alive and awake, you'll never know. I know for a fact, for the most part, I have like friends who are younger than me even tell me, oh yeah, I went out and walked today. And I'm looking at them, wait, what? You did the thing that you're already capable of. What did that do? How does that gear you up to face something like this? So we've created this sort of passive way of getting fitness, as opposed to, if it's something like this is coming and it's aggressively attacking you, then you need to aggressively figure out a way to survive. The passive way was just to give everybody a mask, but not hold anybody really accountable. The aggressive way should have been, well, okay, here's the strategy of what you need to do. You need to be working out 3-4 days a week. You need to monitor your heart rate. Your heart rate should be at this level. You need to work on building lean muscle tissue. You need to change how your diet is. Yeah, let's cut out the processed food. Let's try to work towards eating more health, being more health oriented in this country. Did we? No, we took the passive approach as possible. Give everybody mad, tell you shut up and sit down, hide in your house and wait. So my way of always thinking of it was to be aggressive. So my physical aspect of immunity fitness was to be as aggressive physically as I can. I went out. I have a mask that simulates training at high altitude. Matter of fact, hold on one second. Let's see if I can find it around here. Maybe I can send you a picture of it. Well, anyhow, I have this mask. The mask simulates training at high altitude. Not necessarily, but it inhibits your breathing. Took my mask, went to a staircase in Washington Heights, which is about 3-4 flights, put on a 15-pound weight vest and just hiked up and down that thing for about a half an hour. And this was in like the beginning stages of this whole pandemic. So I hiked up and down that thing for half an hour, like 4 or 5 days a week. I figured, look, I need to basically increase my lung capacity, because initially they were telling you that it's a cardiorespiratory disease or it's an upper lung disease or what have you. I said, all right, well, if that's the case, then I need to improve my lung capacity. Wouldn't that make sense? If I'm going to be attacked on my lungs, I want my lungs to have the strongest chance of being able to fight off whatever this is. So I did that for about 2-3 weeks straight, just every day, which, every like 3-4 days a week, just put the mask on, go hike, put the mask on, go hike. Took all my equipment out of my apartment, moved it up to the roof, worked out up on the roof and worked out outdoors. When you go out and I see all these people lined up at, grocery stores, I was like, oh my God, I'm not staying online. It looks like communist Russia out here. No, I'm not doing that. So, I bought a scooter, so I'm scooting all around the city just to see what's going on, but just kept working out. So the physical aspect I took care of. The next part of it was my nutrition. Well, my nutrition was already on point. I don't eat a lot of processed foods. I very little. I give myself, a treat like a candy bar, like every, 3 weeks or something like that. But my health was fine. I even upgraded. I said, okay, let me go back to juicing. So I got a juicer. We'll go to the grocery store, buy a bunch of vegetables, started juicing. then I started saying, okay, well, what else do we need to do for our immunity? Okay, if we're going to be indoors, we're not going to get a lot of sunlight. And I've seen enough studies that say vitamin D is very important to help boost your immunity. I'm like, okay, let me up my vitamin D content. So I started adding more vitamin D. So what else? Well, zinc. Zinc also helps your immunity. So okay. So went and bought some zinc citrate, add that to my smoothies every time I have a smoothie. And what else? So I went and found that there's a mushroom called turkey tail. What turkey tail also has is very potent as far as being able to, it's antiviral and also has immunosupporting factors in it. So I started adding that to smoothies, adding that to tea. And I was like, okay, I'm good. And I said, what else? Garlic. I said, okay, garlic also has that same effect. So I would take some garlic. Don't recommend this to everyone. I would just chew it up and just chew it down. I wouldn't even think about it. I was just like, what's worse, dying or chewing this garlic? it was kind of toss and turn at that point. I'm like, well, at least I want to get attacked by vampires. So once I realized I had that and everything else, I said, okay, that's about as best as I can do. There's nothing else. I'm like, are you good? Months later, here I am. And even as I tell my friends, months later, you're still here.
Yep.
And I didn't go to the extremism where I wasn't washing my hands every time I touched something. I said, look, I trust my immune system. I trust it to do its job. And the more I looked at the data, I said, okay, got a lot of elderly people, 1 or 2 people in this category, a few people in this category, in this age range, but in this category. I spoke to several nurses. One nurse is a good friend of mine, and I said, well, she said, I saw 11 people die in one day. I said, well, what majority? She said, majority had, however, comorbidities. Had asthma, they were overweight or obese, a number of other issues, and diabetes. Mm-hmm. I said, well, there you have it. And that's when I looked at the whole picture, and I said, well, immune fitness should have been the first thing that should have been ushered in.
Yeah.
But because of the way we've designed this whole system, immunity and fitness got shelved immediately. I don't know if anyone noticed, that stuff got shelved immediately in favor of put on a mask, wash your hands, don't ride this, stay in the house. You can't do anything.
Yep.
That's what I feel the powers that be basically told everyone, you have no power over this.
I think that's what it was said.
Yeah. You have no power. You can't take any responsibility for this. We're going to guide you through this. Just trust us. So meanwhile, this thing basically, and I called it the economic meteorite that rolled through. And so any business that didn't adapt, we like the dinosaurs and got eliminated. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's, it's where we're at now. Where we're at now is we're still fighting to help people understand how your immune system plays a big major role in this. And I'll say it, this should have been the wake-up call for America, if anything. Look, we didn't die from coronavirus. People died because health situations that they either could or couldn't control were just, the coronavirus was the tipping point. Right. I see it as the tipping point to everything else. Think of how many people suffer from diabetes. But there's no sudden marshaling of forces to deal with that. People suffer from obesity, and we still haven't conquered it. Yeah, we've addressed it, but the numbers still keep going up, despite everything we're pushing out there in the fitness industry. And I feel the fitness industry is kind of pushed past society in so many ways, but we still don't address that. There's no sense of urgency to deal with diabetes. Why? Money made. Too much money to be made. You don't want to address something it's what, I can't remember the numbers exactly, but somewhere around the range of like 400 billion, somewhere close to that. I could be wrong. I'm definitely, if I'm wrong, I'm good. I can handle it. But in the billions designed to treat diabetes, just diabetes, one lone disease, not cancer, not AIDS, nothing, just one disease, and billions are being made. So if that would have been addressed first, if this was a healthier, more aware nation, do you think we would have had the same response to this when this thing hit?
Right. So that's one thing that I've talked about with people every day is the thing that drives me crazy, is that we're not talking about diet and nutrition. Like if you've got, going my next racehorse, right? You're not going to feed a racehorse with potato chips and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and
Nope.
down a Coke, right? But that's what we're doing. And I know like people are, talking about the COVID-19 pounds that they're gaining, right? Because we're sitting around eating cookies and what other stuff.
Yeah.
So how, when you've got somebody that's not doing well, there's that good or best, good, better, best, right? How can we start going, okay, we're potato chips and Coca-Cola. Like, how do you recommend with your people? Because a lot of people can't go cold turkey to like pizza to just like meats and vegetables, right? Like, how do you get?
I'll jump from pizza to a
better,
kale salad. I always say good would be, let's start with the basics. And this is the ultimate basic. Drink more water. That's what, to me, that's like the good. The good is drink more water. I still to this day get into issues with clients. I said, you drink enough water? Well, I have one bottle. You're kidding me, right? I'm going to beat you through this workout. You do realize this because you're going to be dehydrated and you're going to wear out, and it doesn't dawn on people something so simple, because it's the influence of commercialization of certain attitudes, or just the attitude towards certain things. Like, who wants to drink water when you have Sprite and Fanta and all these drinks? And I just saw an ad for Kool-Aid. I'm like, wow, they're still making ads for this stuff. and that's what's attractive to it. So water is never really a thing because it's not pushed as a necessity. We say it's necessary to stay hydrated, but then you would give you Gatorade. We give you like, what's that one that's really popular in the UFC that I can't stand right now? It's like a Gatorade-ish type of drink. And I saw the sugar content on this thing. It was like 38 grams of sugar. And I was like, wait, how was this supposed to be good? I'm missing something right here. Am I not seeing this? Drink water. But I always feel it good would be drink water. Just to me, it's like drink water. If you've got a half an hour to go through social media, freaking out and getting mad and yelling at everybody, you got a half an hour to exercise. We're just scanning around looking for stuff to be mad at, and looking for stuff to be annoyed at, watching TV, looking for stuff to be angry at. And that was a half an hour out of your life you could have put towards exercise. So to me, that's good. And I think that exercise should have some value to it. We've devalued it to the point where people say, well, I walked for 30 minutes. And I go, if you really truly love yourself, you really want to devalue it, people treat their bodies sometimes like it's a burden. So we need to remove that concept. This isn't a burden. This is you loving yourself. You loving yourself. If you truly love yourself, you do everything possible to ensure your survival and your betterment. And without getting super, mystified about it, I feel that the people's lack of love for themselves is somewhere in there that contributes to how people handle themselves fitness wise. Like literally, people still treat their bodies like it's a burden. Like how you say with the horse, I always say it with a car. And I say, look, if I gave you a Lamborghini, what would you do with it? Oh man, clean it up every day and put the best gas in it. I'd spit shine that thing. That Lamborghini is not going to help you live another 20 years. And I said, why can't you treat your body the same way? Well, with my wealthier clients, I tell them it's like money management. I said, if your body was a stock, would anybody invest in it right now? Seriously. If right now, if you were a business, how do you think you're managing your business right now?
That's a question there, Tarik.
How are you managing your business right now? Some of you are looking bankrupt. Building, I'm like, no, we got to close that building up. We got to do a lot of renovations. So I say that is good. If you think what better would be, okay, now we need to start switching some things out diet-wise. We need to take out, let's say, okay, maybe instead of that soda, have more water. Maybe instead of that bag of chips, maybe learn to cook something. I feel, especially in this era where, okay, if you're going to be still sheltered in place or what have you, learn a new skill, learn how to cook, learn how to better yourself, at least look it up. We don't all need to be PhDs in exercise. We don't all need to be, have a degree in exercise physiology or anything else to understand the benefits of exercise. There's dozens of information besides myself. I mean, there's literally a plethora of knowledge out there on, and I hate to use the hashtag self-care. I think self-care is probably even that sort of been downgraded to like, well, I said a nice thing to myself today. Like, that wasn't it. It wasn't it. You need a little more. That wasn't quite it. Self-care is like, I took a bath. I took a hot bath. Yikes. But that would be better to me. It's like, okay, start looking at your meals. Like, what am I putting inside of myself? Okay, can I tolerate a salad? Can I handle having a salad with maybe some leafy greens and and nice high quality protein, or even a moderate quality protein. I understand some people have financial constraints, but there are ways to work around that. I'll tell you myself personally, when I remember in my 20s, I was like dead broke. I was probably in the best shape of my life because all I could eat was brown rice, broccoli, and tuna fish. It was 3 easy, cheap staples, but I was super lean. I was probably in the best shape of my life. It's like, it's doable. It's just a matter of values that people have towards things. So it's like, you can go to Burger King and get a value meal. Yeah, is it a value meal out of the cost? But then you'll look at the cost later on. But when you realize that money you spent on McDonald's, you could have easily bought a bag of brown rice, a can of tuna fish, and some broccoli. Mm-hmm. Done it up nice, and you would have been okay. But it's the convenience and the ability to take the responsibility out of your hands and place it in the hands of someone else. You got to take ownership.
Yeah.
When I think of best is where you're like, okay, I'm going to really diligently look and either find someone who knows more than I do about health and fitness. Oh, that's us. That's Wendy. Best is then being able to then assemble, okay, what is the best possible way for me based on my lifestyle, my income, what have you, to make positive life changes. Positive life changes at best would be, okay, really look at what's my diet like. I think instinctively, based on all the information that's sort of filtered through the ether, people know they're eating crappy. You got to know at some point in time when you're sitting down there with a bag of chips and a big Coke and whatnot, and you got to know that's not good for you. There's no way of you trying to, I've never met a person who said, man, you ever know how good McDonald's is for you? Or how great fast food is for your body? Yeah. Everybody knows it's crap. Yeah. I think we can come to a general consensus and a belief that we all know that shit food. We know it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no, looking at even after they put up nutritional content of like what's in McDonald's and what's in Burger King. Do you think that really slowed them down? Not one damn bit. Those guys kept marching along. Hey, here it is. It's like we're telling you it's bad. It's like cigarettes. You know they're going to kill you, but you're going to go smoke one anyhow. It's like, but it's when you make conscious decisions and suddenly you're more self-aware, the best of us will suddenly realize I need to make more conscious decisions about the food I eat and the amount of activity I'm actually getting. If people are plugged into their chairs and their desks and their tables watching the news go by and looking for something else to be panicked at, no, you need to shut that off, go get some exercise. A significant amount, like 60 minutes, 5-6 days a week. It doesn't have to be the same thing. I just recently, I'm supposed to work out one of my younger clients, his workout routine. I haven't seen this kid in a while who's been doing the same damn routine for a year. Yeah, I know. My eyes did that too. For a year, a solid year, just doing the same thing. But I looked at the numbers. I said, well, it's not a whole lot of improvement here, buddy. Yeah, you've been working out steady, but there's no like changes here. You got to see some changes in these numbers here. You're still doing 5-6 pull-ups after a year in your teens. It's not a good look.
So, no growth there.
Yeah, no growth. Look, it's one thing I tell people. It's one thing, be consistent about training, because consistency pays off. But don't just do the same thing dogmatically just to say you got exercise, because it falls back on what I said. It's a burden. If you have to do it that way, you're just doing it just to be doing it, just to say you got it out of the way.
That's good.
And it's not helping you out in the long run.
Yeah.
It's just a check off. Well, I did that today, but there's no variation, there's no change, there's no growth.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh my, I remember the day that you trained me, as you're pushing me through this and this and this and this, and I just keep it going. And then I look around and it's like, there's a trainer just talking with his client, and then the other one just talking with his client. And I looked at you and I'm like, does anybody work out around here? And then you're like, 5 more jump ropes or something, you know?
Don't look around. Yeah, don't. I'm still the same way.
Yeah.
I feel no need to change that because that's what is ensured. I've got an hour with a client mostly, sometimes less. I have to compensate for anything you may or may not have done outside of those other 23 hours. I have to make sure that 1 hour we spend is the most impactful part of your day. If out of anything else, whatever you may have done, whatever happened in your life, whatever you're going through, I got to make sure that hour is the most focused, involved hour so that it instills in your body and your mind that change will occur.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, we can do Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom. Okay, so let's go with labeling, because we talked about labeling, and I think it's like 9 tablespoons of sugar in a serving of Gatorade, something like that. 9 tablespoons.
God, more than that. I mean, let me see. How many grams are in a tablespoon? Because there's serving a Gatorade, it's usually 1.5, and there's about 32 grams of sugar in a Gatorade, maybe more. Yeah, I have to look at all my labels, but yeah, labeling. I always figure when people ask me how many grams of anything, I said, okay, I take out a little packet of sugar, which is about a gram, unless I miss my guess. And imagine if you lay out 32 little packets of sugar.
Right.
I tell them that's how much sugar is in here. How much sugar you figure you put in your coffee? Most people, 4 or 5 of those. No one's ever put 32 packets of sugar in a coffee.
That we know of.
Exactly. That person is somewhere out there still running through the desert. Yeah.
So we talked about, okay, the labeling, and then tell us about going to the source of most of our problems with illness and obesity. I know like sugar's
the source of our problems, illness and obesity it's a problem of society and it's a problem of the individual. All right. I'm going to use the Soul Train example. Back in the days when I was a kid, I used to watch Soul Train. Obviously, I didn't really watch Soul Train that much. I really like cartoons a whole lot more. I was actually mad when my family watched Soul Train because I really wanted to watch cartoons. But I would look at the bodies and how women would look and how men would look on Soul Train. Everybody looked leaner, slimmer, because the mindset at the time was, that was the standard. Mm-hmm. Then we started to relax that. And then somewhat of the fitness attitudes changed and our diets changed. I remember in the 80s, everybody was talking about carbs. Can you eat carbs for energy? It was as if this was something new that suddenly popped up. So everybody started eating more carbs. Oh man, I got to get more carbohydrates, man. I'm not getting enough energy. Because prior to that, then it was like, don't eat steak and eggs. It's going to give you, it's filled with saturated fat, and that's what's bad for you. So we got to eliminate the fat, but we got to have the carbs. So what happens? Everybody starts eating carbs. Bodies start changing. Attitudes start shifting over. Now, the bodies how we looked in the 70s on Soul Train were completely different. Come the 80s and come the 90s, all of a sudden everybody starts thickening up, getting bigger. Well, I remember like as a kid growing up, for example, I remember I had one obese friend, one obese kid growing up. Now you go to a school, you got that's tripled, doubled, quadrupled pretty much. And a lot of that is also fed into how we've taken diet and constantly, because the soul of the country overall, when it comes to nutrition, is trying to figure itself out. The sort of freaks of nature, or the people, let's say, for example, in bodybuilding community, where I was brought up differently, we're coming through the bodybuilding sort of mindset, was eat small meals frequently throughout the day so you keep your glycogen stores up, so your energy levels don't deplete, and make sure your protein intake is constantly being kept up, because your body's going to be breaking down protein and constantly using it over and over again. So I stuck with that. I didn't really go into the whole carb thing. I use carbs, but yeah, I use them for training. I didn't have carbs. So you have these people out there eating, like, for example, going on running marathons who eat like plates of pasta and everything else, but didn't realize that you didn't shut the switch off when you stopped running the marathon. You still kept eating that way. And the same thing called for society. People ate carbs, but no one quite understood, and I still can't figure out why, that carbs, it was probably out there, but no information ever came out. Carbs not used are going to convert to fat, and that's going to be stored as long-term energy, but none of you are all running marathons.
Right.
So then everybody went from the anti-fat, not realizing that you really do need fats. Now that we know better, that we need fat as a way to delay your body's ability to break down muscle tissue, you need fat as fuel. Fat wasn't necessarily the enemy. It was really carbs and sugar, because everybody's sugar intake, of course, went up because you're getting carbs from all sorts of sources. No one said, no, you need healthier carbs, but you're just going to have to eat carbs. And the need to have bigger, larger portion sizes also filled in, because, America's got to have everything big and got to have everything huge. And all of that mixed together in some crazy amorphous blob of disinformation has now led us to where we're at now.
Yeah.
I look at it, everything from how bodies have changed from what I've watched on television, how now it became fat shaming, love yourself and accept yourself. Like, yeah, that's great. But the problem then becomes, if you're going to tell people like that who've already got bad health outcomes from their weight, that just pretty much stay where you're at, it then inspires a whole nother generation that does the exact same thing. And then you get a whole nother host of problems. Because now you're looking at it, and those same celebrities who run around telling all these women and men to love yourself are all been going to the gym now like crazy. All of them who seem to be, rebellious against it. Look, great, you're going to love yourself there you are, but I think they fail to understand the reality of this. This isn't naturally how you are. You wound up that way through a series of dietary decisions and lifestyle choices. Yeah. No one, unless you are in the Arctic and you are traveling like several miles, pulling a sled, needs to be obese as what you see the average American is right now. Mm-hmm. Nobody. Unless you play in the NFL and you're all going to be linemen and protect Tom Brady. I don't like the guy's a quarterback. Let him slide, but he's good. He's always got a good offensive line. I give him credit. There's no need for everyone to be as huge as what I see now.
Yeah.
So the culprit is, it's a mix. It's not just, it is the individual. I still feel, look, you've got to take personal responsibility for it. But it's society taking the foot off the brakes, off the gas pedal, I should say, about, no, we need to enforce more, be more proactive and be more aggressive about preventative care in this country.
For sure.
But it seems every time we put our foot on the gas, the blowback is, oh, well, you're fat shaming everyone. And, and it's like, no, this isn't fat shaming. This is called preventative care.
Yeah.
But we've taken it to mean, oh, well, now you're fat shaming everyone, and now you got to be body positive. If you were truly body positive, you'd be positive that you want your body to be around you for a while. Mm-hmm. Because I've yet to see an 85-year-old morbidly obese person talking about how great life is. I'm waiting for that person to show up. If they're out there, I want to interview them.
Right.
These same people that advocate that are the same people years later, and I've seen it happen every time. We can see it like clockwork, who then advocate, who all of a sudden get this kick to be in better shape. Who all of a sudden get this kick about, yeah, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to be in better shape and be healthier. But then there's the negativity spawned upon them for actually wanting to take better care of themselves, which never makes any sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a cluster. It's not just one issue in this country or anywhere globally when it comes to changing around that issue. But once again, we took our foot off the gas pedal relaxed it up, and yeah, now we're suffering the consequences. And here this comes, and now everybody's like, oh my God, I got to put a mask on. No, you still got to do things strategically to help improve your own healthy outcome.
Right. Right. And that's
Yeah.
what I was hoping would really come around. And it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, we're eating more comfort carbs right now. I know I've done too many, but it's like we kind of gone the back way. I see people right now, their bodies are not happy, their minds aren't happy.
Yeah.
And we're kind of stuck, like we're not doing anything to push us forward.
And I feel we are not doing things that push us forward because we're too because people are waiting for the science to prove fitness is actually a viable tool to alleviate stress. And we know this already, yet still people are still doing what they do. 2, keep your immune system healthy and active. We know this already, yet people are still trying to negate that. 3, fix your diet. We know that the country is so built on convenience, is Amazoned itself away from fitness. It's like, I want it conveniently delivered to me in a microsecond, and it's got to give me that level of satisfaction I get. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And I see it because, once again, people would rather put on a mask and actually do anything aggressively about their own health.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll hide a mask and we'll wait for the government agencies to tell you what to do. Surgeon General had a moment, could have said something. Look, these are the strategies we need to start employing. COVID just really unveiled the lack of preventative care across the country. Could have said that. Yeah. We don't do enough in this country for preventative care at all. It's always wait till after. It's like the murder has already occurred. Now we just show up and draw a chalk drawing around it. We already show up. It's already been done.
Yeah.
As opposed to what can we do to prevent something like this? You're not going to prevent a virus. I feel like viruses have been around before mankind, will be around here when we're gone. Most of this stuff I feel is adaptative because you have to really realize that we're apex predators of human beings at this point. I don't have to walk down the street, walk down Fifth Avenue. At no point in time is a lion going to jump out and kill me. At no point in time am I going to be run over by an elephant or a woolly mammoth or anything else. So viruses, I feel, are in that response to where humanity has gotten. So we need to be aware of that, and we should be consistently trying to evolve and become better and better. But instead, we got convenient. People got complacent. You figure, okay, oh, I've got diabetes. No worry, I can go get insulin.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got this issue. No worries. I'm pretty sure the doctor's got a pill or a tablet or something like that or a shot for this. Yeah. And this is where we're at. There was no, and look around how much, there's very little being mentioned about preventative care. Yeah. Still. Yeah. We're going to do our best to we're going to hide out. Now, every time I hear about cases, oh my God, there's cases popping up. There's cases over here. Yeah, it's going to be cases, of course. People go out and get tested. More people are going to come in contact with each other. Of course, you're going to see a rise in cases. The issue I have is if there's a rise in cases, yet you haven't seen a significant, suddenly shooting rise in fatalities, that should tell us something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you'll see cases. Between October 2019 and April 2020, there were between 36 to 54, I think, million cases of the flu. Just the flu. And, I think at that point, some people were still fairly wearing masks, but yeah, you're still going to get the flu. Some people are going to get it, some people aren't. I feel the same way with this. Some people are going to get it, some people aren't. Some people are going to be asymptomatic, some people aren't. Some people are going to, die from it, some people aren't. It is the nature of any virus. But it's the reaction that we've gotten is the biggest issue. It's going to run into problems. Humanity's still going to run into this. God knows there's probably something way worse waiting down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like literally, it's like spitting in the ocean relatively based on the human population. It's like poof, nothing. But it's our reaction to it.
Yeah.
So it was our reaction to it. I think our reaction to it was just like, wow, really? Come on, humans, can do a little better job than this.
Come on, people.
Yeah.
We right now have a war going on with breakfast. Dr. Oz says, don't eat breakfast. I think Mark Wahlberg then said, do eat breakfast. You say, what have you had for breakfast? So I want to know, what's your view on breakfast? Because I know on Facebook, you ask that a lot.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at the very word breakfast. Breakfast means what? You're breaking a fast. If I slept for like 8-9 hours a day, me personally, I'm freaking ravenous when I get up in the morning. My wife will attest to that. I don't get up stumbling around for like an hour or two trying to figure what to eat. I get up, I'm like, go to the fridge. What do we got? Start taking out eggs. So neither one of them, they're both right and they're both wrong. It's not a blanket statement. If you are a very active individual, you burn a number of significant calories, you exercise very, intensely for 60 minutes or more, you're more than likely going to need to eat breakfast. I say eating is a lifestyle issue. If you sit behind a desk all day, you don't need to eat a bunch of carbs. Where the hell are you going? If eating is I'm right now, I'm getting a certification from this company to be a nutritional counselor. So, I've gotten one thing from it is, look, everybody's diets should be designed based on your lifestyle. I don't need my clients to eat like me in the sense that they are not as active as I am. I'm out grappling, doing jujitsu like 2 hours, 3 hours a day sometimes. I got to do strength training, do all my recovery work, and that's like an hour in and of itself some days. Do my conditioning work, that's another hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending. So yeah, I'm burning through a lot of calories. My resting metabolic rate is, I burn 2,200 calories a day doing nothing. If I do nothing all day, it's 2,200 calories a day. So yeah, I gotta eat breakfast. Dr. Oz loves to just, he jumps on whatever the latest trendy study is. And I felt that about him, it's like, oh my God, look, how many times this man had to appear before, the Senate panel and whatnot to say, look, stop saying this stuff's a miracle cure, dude. It's not. And we know you're making money off it. Cut it out.
Right.
So for him to now tell people don't eat breakfast, because you've seen a few studies. Yeah, it's relevant to people who, if you're morbidly obese, yeah, you've got enough body fat stores to last you a while. I remember reading a study that said, look, the average person who's morbidly obese has enough energy to run about 5 marathons back to back.
Yeah.
Maybe more. You think how many calories you're going to burn when run through 26 miles. But on average, yeah, like I said, if you sit at a desk, then yeah, you might not need to get up and eat breakfast in the morning. If you're going to literally get out of your bed, commute to go sit down for 4 or 5 hours, yeah, I think you're going to be okay. You might want to have something light instead. But if you get up, commute, and your day is pretty active, and you've got to put in like, an hour of training, and that training varies depending on how many calories you're going to burn in the course of the day, and strength training, and you're going to come home and maybe do some other things. You've got housework to do. You're very active. Yeah, breakfast may be the thing for you. Mark Wahlberg's got to be, look, his trainer sees him at 4:30 in the morning. God bless you, buddy. God bless you. You don't want to know what I charge if you got to see you at 4:30 in the morning. It ain't easy. He told me to not get sleep and come see you. Mark Wahlberg gets up and does that. So if Mark Wahlberg needs to get up and eat breakfast, it's because his lifestyle needs him to eat breakfast. It's individualized. It can be no further from the truth. Mark Wahlberg needs to eat breakfast because, well, hell yeah. How hard is Mark Wahlberg's workout versus Dr. Oz's?
Right.
How hard is Dr. Oz? I bet you Dr. Oz is probably the guy that gets up, hops on the elliptical for like 20 minutes, does a few brief stretches, probably pressing like 10 or 15 pound dumbbells, real light stuff, does some yoga. All right, I'm good. He looks for what I call the medical minimal, to just offset a few health concerns.
That was a good answer, because I don't believe it's one size fits all either.
No,
So
it
that's good.
never is. It can't be one sided. I feel diet, nutrition are very individualized. It's an individual's, like I can't tell a person, like I said, I can't tell a person who sits at a desk to eat the same way as I put a mixed martial artist through. That dude is like got to train like 3 hours a day, an hour worth of just Muay Thai, an hour of just strength training, and another hour doing maybe boxing or grappling. I can't tell you to eat the same way that guy eats. You'd be huge for the most part. It's like I can't tell an NFL lineman to eat the same way as an Olympic swimmer, or let's say an NFL lineman eating the same way as, let's say, an NFL wide receiver. Two different jobs, two different tasks, two different bodies, two different workouts, two different diets.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants that universal one thing that's going to fit everybody. Everybody wants, oh, go keto. Yeah, it's good for a while. And we did enough studies to realize you can't be on keto forever. Your brain needs glucose.
Mm-hmm.
You can't completely just go without carbs for the rest of your life. Carbs aren't the devil. It's how you handled it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
everybody's, oh, well, I'm paleo like our ancestors. Everybody's ancestors across the globe were different. Inuit ate a lot of fat
Mhm.
because you're in the cold. So that worked for them. That might not work for somebody in sub-Saharan Africa. I don't think that'll work for the Maasai.
Mhm.
No, those guys on a completely different diet. So diet is, I think if we could figure out American diet, the first thing we'd have to do, for example, is figure out what the hell Americans doing. What is the majority of activity of the average American? How much activity does the average American actually get in a week, in a month, and in a year? How many calories are they actually burning? And
Yeah.
who's the average? You know, to some people, the average American goes skiing in Vail every weekend. Whereas some people, the average Americans, well, got my walker, I went over to the grocery store, bought a bunch of popsicles, bought a half a gallon of ice cream, grabbed some fried food, head back home. Depends. It really depends on lifestyle.
Yeah. So can you say? So people, especially now, they're going on Amazon, they're buying or maybe they're going online, getting exercise videos, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're putting them in, they're too intense, and
Mm-hmm.
within a day or two, they're done, right? They're not exercising. They maybe had good intentions, right? Too much. So what do you recommend for people? Like, how do you start, like baby beginning to work up? What do you recommend?
I always say the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah.
It's funny. I had the same conversation the other day with somebody who was telling me how, like, people who bought like P90X, for example,
Yeah.
and rarely has anybody ever finished it, right? I always say the better way of really starting out is find someone to consult with. Find someone you can ask these kind of questions. I mean, there's tons of mentors or people in the fitness industry. You can figure out what are my best possible steps. Like, I'm imagining, let's say I'm overweight and I want to start making changes. Is there a support group in my neighborhood? Are there people I can gather around with the same similar interests and needs? Is there a trainer or somebody who knows more than I do in my neighborhood or somewhere around who I can actually ask? I can, work with to see, okay, what are my best possible steps? The issue in this country is that, and you hit it right on the head with that, is most people don't even know where to get started or how to get started.
Mm.
It's like starting a business. And I told my wife this is the problem most businesses, you stop at the start because there's a glut of information that comes down the pipe, but it's not configured in any way that makes sense to help you move forward.
Yeah.
So you'll get all this information about health and fitness and all this stuff will constantly, I want to say bombarded, because we're not truly bombarded. I feel that people who are bombarded about health and fitness are the people who are in the health and fitness industry. I look on the average TV and how much is it really talking about health and fitness? One quick blurb and then we're gone. And now off to the war in Iraq. It's like, we don't want to deal with it. So you need to find a way to find someone who can help synthesize the information that's out there. But yeah, I can only imagine it has to be pretty difficult for somebody who's seriously overweight to figure out, well, how do I lose weight? And the issue is, it's not how do they lose weight. People want it rapidly.
Right. Right.
They want to lose weight, but I don't want to change my lifestyle. I want to lose weight, but I still want to keep the same kind of people around me who enabled me to still stay the same way
Mm,
I was. Yeah, it's lifestyle, and some of it has to be, you might have to get rid of some of your overweight friends. And
mm.
it's an issue that people have, not just in the taking the steps, but I feel as people take the steps, I start to realize, and that realization hits them. It's like, man, it's some of the people I'm around. It's the decisions you've made. And then when they start, we've been, and I said, I'm probably, I've enabled this as too. It's the biggest loser culture.
Yeah.
People start and figure, man, it's weight's got to come up real rapidly in the first month, and it's got to happen. No, true fat loss and physiological changes take time. And the issue then becomes the time people have to take. Whereas, unless it's done quickly, it's an inconvenience. And that's the issue. You have to remove the fact that you're going to be in this body for the rest of your life. You can march forward aggressively, but understand that you've got to keep that same level of intensity. It's difficult for people to self-sustain that
That's good.
intensity level. So when they get started, they fall off because it's expected that they want to have it happen quickly. I'll tell you a quick story. I was in a Best Buy years before any of this kicked off. I was in a Best Buy, and this girl asked me. Asked me whether I'm a trainer. I said, yeah, I'm a trainer. And then, she's asking me about workout programs. I said, okay, well, how long have you been on this workout program? She said, I don't know, I've seen the results. I'm like, well, how long have you been on it? I've been on the thing for like 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Let me get this straight. You've been on this program for 3 weeks and you're upset that nothing's happened yet. The hell were you expecting to happen? It's like, I always ask, how long did it take for you to get where you got?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the real, it's how long did it take for you to become that overweight or put yourself in that, you weren't even monitoring it. Figure out how much it's going to take to get you out of that situation. You can accelerate it, but then, are you going to be able to sustain that? And that's what it is. It's getting people to get started is one thing. Getting them to sustain the consistent effort it takes to put themselves in the body they want. And I feel more often fail, like a business, more often fail than there are successful. We hear about the success stories all the time. Women lost 100 pounds, man lost 150 pounds by doing these few things. And they're great. We just don't see enough of them.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that one person out of how many millions are in the same boat? And we need to get more of those stories out to get more people involved, to get more people. I feel that if we had a more healthy, enabled nation, we'd have a smarter, more productive nation as a whole.
And we have to really think of it as a process. This isn't just like a 3-week thing and you're done. This is a life process.
90 days of fitness. It's like, booty shred in 21 days.
Yeah.
And we're not realistic, and because people see these things and they go like, well, yeah, but you gotta look what you started with here. Like, look, if you started like 75 pounds overweight, there's not gonna be a 21-day booty shred for you.
Right.
It's not gonna happen. I want you to be okay with it. You're gonna lose some weight, but or you also looking at, especially when we deal with people who are obese and morbidly obese, the first thing I consider always is the amount of stress and workload that they've placed on their joints and how to best deal with that first, while making manipulations in their diet and their overall lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. People just think it's the thing you can throw on and off. Fitness isn't a thing you can throw on and off. Fitness is a lifestyle. Once you put it on, you got to wear it.
Mm.
And so many people just, want to treat fitness. It's a societal inconvenience to some degree for most people to actually work to stay in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That hits hard.
Yeah, it's hard, but I always feel people want to get started. Find a professional. Look at some history. History will teach you anything. And say, look, what is the history of somebody who in a similar situation as you, and what did they do to get out of it?
Hmm.
We are living in an information age.
Mhm.
Rife with information. Like I said, it's a glut of information, knowledge about out there. And it's fairly overwhelming for the average person who can't look through it, but it's out there. If you find someone in similar straits and figure out how did they get out of it, and for the most part are willing to mimic what they've done, you got a better chance.
That's good. So is there anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't talked about?
Yeah. Big thing I've definitely added is I'm navigating actually into the food space. I've become a food entrepreneur. Is it food entrepreneur or foodpreneur? It's one or the other. So I've actually started a company called Super Nature Foods. And one of the reasons I started the company was this. I realized no matter how many kids I've trained, and I've trained several, help these kids, I had one kid, I took him literally from middle school to high school. Now he's in college, and we still manage to, train with each other, work with a number of larger groups with parents, having me work with their kids. But I realized no matter what we do, if we don't get to the primary issue is what they eat, we're going to be fighting this thing. It's like fighting an uphill battle. It's like trying to crawl out of a 70-degree hole with that's got wet sand. I'll get a few footholds. I feel like I'm coming up and I'm smashed back down again. So I realized that not everybody's going to do push-ups. Not everybody's going to do sit-ups, but everybody's going to eat.
Mhm.
It's the one universal thing we all have to do. So I started this company called Super Nature Foods, and my agenda really is to bring more healthier options, particularly in these smaller urban communities, than I see when I go to these stores. I go to these stores and the first lineup of things is always like unhealthy snacks, Pop-Tarts, some of the donut, some other thing with like 90 grams of sugar in, God knows, all this processed food. I think is we've got to make better unprocessed convenience food and use that as a means to get people involved in health.
Hmm.
Because I walk into these stores and I'm literally just at a loss. I mean, I see some changes occurring in my own neighborhood, which is great. I see now more of the stores bringing more healthy options in and more, there's more space there, but there's still not enough.
Yeah.
I still see people going in and deliberately making poor choices. And it's supposed to be because the companies that sell you this stuff have had a successful, incredible marketing program. And
For
you can't
sure.
knock it. Like, look, McDonald's at no point in time told you were going to be a track star. They just say, hey, man, this stuff is tasty. Go eat it. Well, they were right. They got food scientists. They got guys whose job is to figure out how to trick your taste buds or how to really capture your taste buds and get you to eat this stuff because, wow, they really feel it's for you. Or they really feel that they've gotten a way to make you really want it. They figure out how to make it addictive. We have to figure out how to make healthy food just as addictive, if not more so.
That's good.
And it can be done. And I want to be able to lead and be a part of that because I realize once again, everybody has to eat.
Yep.
And if we can get to that one thing and get people to start turning on to eating better in a means that is easily accessible to them, then we can make a lot of changes, within a few generations.
That's good. Nice. So where can my viewers find more about you and your work?
You can find me on Instagram at Real Tarik. You can also find me on my website, which is www.tariktyler.com. I'm also on Twitter. And I'm actually now going to be working over at a place, working with a number of mixed martial artists, both pro and amateur. I'm at a place in Hoboken called David Branch Jiu-Jitsu, where I am now coming on as their resident strength and conditioning coach.
Nice.
Because a number of athletes there and abroad, I realized, especially in the jiu-jitsu sphere, are great at jiu-jitsu. Really great grapplers, but don't have that strength and conditioning component to make them better athletes. So my thing is I'm looking to make better athletes, or I like to say I'm a monster maker. You give me the skills, I'll add all the other tools. You go out there and you'll dominate. You'll win your tournaments, you win your fights. If that can be done, I'll be happy.
Nice. And if somebody wants to coach with you, you're doing Zoom?
Exactly. I'm doing Zoom. If you want to reach me, you can reach me via Zoom. We can set up an appointment. We can do it through FaceTime, Skype. but definitely Zoom and definitely FaceTime.
Okay.
I think there's also Google Meets. I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, Zoom right now is the dominant factor. So definitely Zoom.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate all your information. It's
Oh
been
my
great.
God. So good. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And then people put your, how do we get this? I think you have to like it, put a comment, something, and then you have a chance to win the book.
That is a great book. I mean, that book kept me motivated one time, and I was like, man, what am I not doing? And yeah, Tim Grover, I don't respect a lot of trainers and strength conditioning coaches. Some of these guys that do a lot of super flowery stuff, but Tim's work, and you can see it. You know, it's like they said, the proof is in the pudding. Yeah, Tim Grover is like definitely the man. I mean, the way he describes how his athletes are and what it takes to really be the closer.
Great.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. And we will see you next time.
I hope so. All right. Bye now.